James, how did you know Rob Reiner?
I knew Rob Reiner because at a very, very down point in my career, Rob literally saved my career and really put me back on track in a way that was so important and rewarding in my life. And he really fought for me when the studio didn't want me in a movie. I was 32 years too young for the part, but he really believed that I was right and could do it. It was something that virtually nobody agreed with except one of his partners, Martin Schaefer, who was the head of Castle Rock and one of the greatest production companies ever. And we did Ghosts of Mississippi together, and I went from really being basically out of a job to getting an Academy Award nomination, and I give all the credit to Rob. And it's funny, people would have seen, it's impossible to talk about him in the past tense, but I'd be at a party at my friend's house, and people who didn't know that Rob and I knew each other, they'd see us laughing and, kidding each other, and they'd go, "How is it that you and Rob Reiner are friends?" And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" They said, "Well, you're so different in your politics and so on." I said, "Look, let me explain something about Rob Reiner so that you know. First of all, I judge people by how they treat me, and Rob Reiner was a godsend in my life. We got along great. We loved each other. We had more fun together doing a very serious subject. It was a way to kind of get through it. And he was always on my side. But when people would say to me, "Well, what do you think of his politics?" I would say, "I think Rob Reiner is a great patriot." Do I agree with some of or many of his ideas on how that patriotism should be enacted to celebrate the America that we both love? No. But he doesn't agree with me either, but he also respects my patriotism. We had a different path to the same destination, which was a country we both loved. And when people would say terrible things to me on social media about him, I said, "You got it all wrong. And yes, I can see how you can disagree with him, but because you disagree with people doesn't mean that you have to hate people." And what Rob and I could do, Rob and I could sit in a room. I could sit in a room with Sean Penn, by the way. I could sit in a room with a lot of my liberal friends and say, "Look, I think you're wrong about this, this, and this." And they could say the same to me, and we would find a way to work it out. And that was one of the great things about him. He was a real thinker when you had a chance to talk to him. And a lot of people just don't think anymore. And look, I knew and by the way, we're talking about a tragedy here about Rob and Michele,
right?
Two extraordinary, lovely people. And you can't forget how important it is, because that marriage, Michele did in Rob's life what Rob did in my life at a time when I needed him. And all I've ever said about Rob Reiner is he's somebody I love, respect, and cherish. And when my friend Carol called me and said, "Listen, I want you to hear about this before it's on the news. Rob and Michele were murdered." And I literally said, "Rob and Michele who?" She goes, "Reiner." And I said, I literally, when you can't breathe, I literally said, and I said, "Was it a home invasion?" And she said, "We don't know, but it may have been Nick."
Oh.
And I'm telling you, I just felt the floor. I just felt my heart drop. And I just thought, what Tracy's going to go through, what
Did you have any idea that this would come at the hands of the son?
No, I did not. No, that was not. I didn't know the children very well, except Tracy, because I'd also done a movie with Penny, so Tracy was around a lot. And I knew them through work, and you learn everything you need to know about people when you're working on a movie. It was an extraordinary experience on that movie. I worked with Rob and Whoopi. Whoopi and I were Whoopi Goldberg played Myrlie Evers, and we got along so well. And people are always shocked when I speak well of Whoopi Goldberg. But I love Whoopi, and I love the way she treated me on the movie. And, it was a very happy experience and a very powerful one. And Rob's dedication to telling the story of Medgar Evers' assassination, and the way, in particular, Rob spoke, and you mentioned this, it was mentioned on Laura Ingram's show, about how Rob talked when Charlie Kirk was assassinated. I knew Charlie Kirk. I supported him. I'd seen him last year, just before Christmas, and to know that he had been assassinated was so devastating. People said such horrible things, and Rob did not. And when people say horrible things about Rob right now, I find it, quite frankly, infuriating and distasteful. Did I agree with his politics? I did not. Did I love him as a friend, as an artist, as an icon of Hollywood, and as a patriot? I most certainly did. And I am just absolutely devastated by this terrible event, especially for his family.